Shadowlands is basically all about death, and with all this seriousness and edginess all around, a kitty cat is exactly what you need to cuddle and pet and warm your heart while biting and shredding and ripping your enemies to their certain death. Well, here it is, the Feral Druid guide to help you get better in both dungeons and raids while learning all about the talents, legendaries, Soulbinds, Conduits, openers, rotation, and a lot more. So meow meow yo, meow. In this video, you're going to see a lot of add-ons, and we install and update them all through CurseForge, the very sponsor of this video. The app works smoothly, has multiple functions and quality of life improvements. It supports add-on creators, we use it with no issues, and on top of that, you can check the links in the description for the full list of add-ons we use. Like a complete package of everything. Thank you to them for sponsoring the video, and now let's get into the talents. Meow. First row brings you Sabertooth for raiding, as this will increase the damage of your ferocious bite by 20%, and it will also increase your Reap Bleed duration by 1 second per combo point spent. This also synergizes great with the Apex Legendary, which we will cover shortly. The Sabertooth talent is also a reasonable option for Mythic Plus in some scenarios, for example in Tyrannical weeks where bosses need much more damage to get down. Predator is the option you want more exclusively for Mythic Plus, because on top of it increasing the duration of Tiger's Fury by 5 seconds, it will also reset its cooldown once a bled up target dies. And the bleed can be Rip, Rake, or Thrash, so it makes sense to pick this, as at least one mob will die sooner than others, providing you super uptime for your Tiger's Fury. The second row brings a good set of utility, and any of the picks can work depending on what you want to achieve. As a default, Wild Charge is an all-rounder, providing you some extra mobility due to its gap closing component and jump around in travel form. Tiger Dash gives you a big-ass boost of speed, while Renewal can work if you feel you die often and need an extra powerful and instant heal. For the level 30 row, you know, the one where you tap into your druid fantasy and choose an affinity. Again, all three can work depending on your situation, but the default and safe pick will always be Balance Affinity. Why? Well, first of all, the range increase for all your cat abilities is always good in my book, allowing you to do mechanics and avoid shit much easier. It also provides access to Sunfire, which currently is a very powerful spell, worthwhile even in single target, so yeah, this affinity is a direct DPS increase talent. You also get access to Typhoon, which can be pretty useful in dungeons when you want to help your tank to kite, and it will also synergize with the next talent pick and your Covenant ability. Getting there shortly, and speaking of the next talent bro, I personally prefer Heart of the Wild as a default in both dungeons and raids for the above arguments mentioned earlier, and knowing that abilities from the affinity chosen get buffed by 30%. So in dungeons, you would pop this, remain in Bunkin form, and then throw Convoke the Spirits, your Covenant ability, for some amazing AoE damage. The same thing in raid, only after using Heart of the Wild you go back into cat form and then pop Convoke. You won't have the same benefit as in AoE, but it will still be a damage boost. Don't worry, you will understand how Convoke works shortly. Other than this, Mighty Bash is also a good option for an extra stun, and Mass Entanglement has its uses in Mythic Plus, especially in Necrotic weeks. Next row brings one good choice for both raiding and dungeons, and that is Soul of the Forest, as this will provide a 5% increase in damage for all your finishing moves, and also will help you with your energy starvation, because you will gain 5 energy per combo point every time you use one of these finishers. An argument can be made for Savage Roar 2 in dungeons, but currently Soul of the Forest pulls ahead, and Incarn is even less desirable with the Berserk changes, so until further notice, Soul of the Forest all the way. Next up, you get to choose between one ability replacement and an extra ability to be placed in your action bars. Brutal Slash is the go-to for raids. It will replace Swipe. It has 3 charges, costs less energy than Swipe, and deals pretty good cleave damage. Well, you will use it in single target regardless if there is stuff to cleave or not. For dungeons, Primal Rat is mwah, another finisher that deals damage per combo point spent, but most importantly, it will apply Rip to all your targets in an 8-yard radius. And we all know Rip is your second hardest hitting ability, so yay! The duration of Rip is based on the number of combo points used, and please remember that Rip's damage does not increase based on the number of combo points, okay? Only the duration. Okay, now for the last talent row. If you are just starting out with Feral, Moment of Clarity is a general safe pick for both raid and dungeons. It will help you out with these early stages of the expansion due to the increase of energy, but it will also transform you into a bit of a shred bot, which isn't always that much fun. What we recommend is the new Blood Talents, because not only is this the highest performing talent on this row, but it will also get better and better as the expansion is moving forward. Using 3 different combo point generators in a window of 4 seconds will grant you the Blood Talents, which will buff by 30% either your next 2 rips or your next 2 ferocious bites. There are tons of weak auras that can help you with tracking this, just in case you cannot deal with the standard Blizzard default UI. I'm gonna have one link for it in the description. More on the usage of Blood Talents in the rotation section. The thing about this last talent row on Feral is that really all 3 talents are very close to each other, and the best one on this row is still likely to fluctuate until further down the road. At this point, choosing something from here realistically boils down on a mix between what is seeming the best for you and personal preference. Now, who wants stats for cats? I know there are also dog lovers out there, and listen, I love all animals, but okay, relax, we're just focusing on Feral stats. Jesus, alright, stats. Please remember, the best stats for you are the ones you sim, and the same goes for talents and gear, as everything you will see in this guide will likely change moving forward, and a good way to keep up with the updates is to always check the pinned comments on the video. Now for a general overview of the stats you want, agility is first and foremost. So Atom level, baby! Critical Strike follows shortly, especially for the combo generation from Shred. Then Mastery for the overall damage increase on bleeds and finishers, and lastly Haste, as this will increase your energy regen and the speed at which your bleeds will tick, tick, tick. Haste is really valuable now in this early stage of the expansion, but it will fall off in time and versatility will take its place. But regardless, sim yourself for the best stats you need. When picking up your enchants, you will take note of the stat weights, and as such, for weapons, Celestial Guidance is a good all-rounder for both Raid and Mythic Plus, but if you want to get the more specific stuff, then Lightless Force will be the optimal choice for M+, and Sinful Revelation for Castle Nathria. For your boots, you can pick up Eternal Agility for some more of that juicy agility, and your chest should have Eternal Stats because a 30 increase to all stats is always good. The cloak enchants don't have any stat increases, so Fortified Avoidance would be good for some more survivability, I guess. Your rings will both have Tenet of Critical Strike, keeping in mind the stat weight we talked about a bit earlier, and gems can follow the same lead with Deadly Jewel Cluster. Use the Spectral Flask of Power for some much value-added DPS, and as far as potions, you can go either with Potion of Phantom Fire for single target or Potion of Empower Exorcism if you know you are going to be fighting more than 4 targets. Use a Shaded Waystone on your weapon for an all-around AoE and single target benefit. You are probably inclined to use oils, but the reality is stones provide attack power which buff your damage all around, while oils lose any type of benefit when dealing with AoE scenarios. And the difference in DPS is negligible in single target, somewhere at 10 DPS difference, so yeah, use stones for your weapon. Now, when your kitty cat gets hungry, the feast is always welcome when it's available, but if you're an alley cat like me and don't have the gold, then Spine Soufflé and Fries can be a good replacement for some more Critical Strike. Alright, now we're getting into the juicy stuff. There's no secret right now that Night Fae is the best covenant for ferals, particularly with Nia as the best soulbind to go for. Well, it's not like right now you have that many choices, right? As a Night Fae, you gain access to Soul Shape, a nice teleport ability that transforms you into a Vulpine and increases your movement speed by 50%. This lasts 12 seconds or until you cancel it when in a rested area. Convoke the Spirits is the class ability, and man does this thing hit! So what it does is that it channels 12 druid spells one after the other in 4 seconds, prioritizing your spec's main abilities. This is why I mentioned Balanced Affinity and Heart of the Wild in the talent section, because even in cat form, you will still have a couple of Moonkin abilities casted during Convoke, and Heart of the Wild will buff them too. Anyways, you start your Soulbind route with Nia with Growth Invigoration, providing you a good chunk of mastery and moving down the line towards Run Without Tiring for some added HP regeneration when in Soul Shape. Then, you move to Swift Patrol for some extra movement speed, and finishing up with Nia's tools, working great in both dungeons and raids because your interrupts will add poison damage to the target, and if you interrupt a second time, your target will take additional nature damage. So overall, extra DPS for you! In terms of the actual conduits you choose, we're looking at 5 general ones, and first on the list is Sudden Ambush, as this will grant your finishing moves a 3% chance per combo point to enable your next Rake or Shred to work as if you were in stealth. And if you didn't know, Rake deals 60% more damage when casted from stealth, and Shred provides an additional combo point for the same circumstance, on top of a 60% damage increase as well. Pair Sudden Ambush with Taste for Blood when raiding, as this will buff your Ferocious Bite by a percentage for each of the bleeds you have on your target. If you're doing dungeons, then Carnivorous Instinct is the better choice, as it will flat out increase the damage of your Tiger's Fury by 3%. with a gradual increase depending on the item level of the conduit. The Finesse conduit slot can be filled with Front of the Pack for an increase of Stampeding's Roar's speed and radius, and for the Endurance slot you can go with Well-Honed Instincts, a nice trick to have to gain more survivability due to it proccing Frenzied Regeneration when falling below 40% HP. One mention here is for the conduit Born of the Wilds, which is really good for taking if you took the Balance, Affinity, and Heart of the Wild talent. Hey, it's a small DPS gain, okay? Now, since most of the gear you will wear is normalized, I mean, no more traits and no signs of tier sets just yet, just plain old stat sticks, we can safely look at a couple of good performing trinkets you can target for your feral. Inscrutable Quantum Device from the other side and Dreadfire Vessel from the Natrius seem to be the top choices for single target, at least as far as sims go. Sites like bloodmallet.com can always be a great source to check for updates on this, but so far, this is what we get. Many of the melee-specific trinkets from the raid are not yet implemented in SimC, so data here is a little sparse, but once everything is there, we will update the pinned comment section if any changes occur. Dungeons favor once again the Inscrutable Quantum Device, with a replacement for the Natrius one with Decanter of Anima Charge Winds. A very potent trinket that will deal AoE damage in a cone in front of you with an increase to that damage based on the number of mobs you fight, with a cap of 5, obviously. And now Legendaries! So for raids, you are looking at 2 very good performance, but again, do take note, these may probably change after week 1 of Mythic, so be sure to check the pinned comments for any updates. Anyways, Apex Predator's Carving will provide your Rip Dots a 4% chance to proc a free Ferocious Bite, dealing damage as if it was at full energy and full combo points, and this, my friend, is why my damage profile sees Ferocious Bite so high up. Another great contender is Draught of the Deep Focus, and this may tip the balance of your damage profile towards Rip rather than Ferocious Bite, because if you have Rip on a single target, so no cleave business, its damage will be increased by 40%. Well, either Rip, Rake, Moonfire, or Rejuvenation. All these get buffed by 40% if they are applied to a single target. So please remember, if any of these dots are on multiple targets, you will lose the bonus from it. In AoE, Circle of Life and Death can be a top contender due to all your dots dealing their damage in 25% less time, meaning they tick faster, meaning you can have more of them applied, thus more DPS overall. Apex Predator is also great here too, just because in AoE, playing with Primal Rat will have lots of targets with Rip, and the chances of free ferocious bites increase dramatically, making Apex a pretty good all-around legendary, great for both dungeons and raids. And hey, it's pretty easy to get the memory for it too, it drops from Torghast, so yay? So for your single target opener, you first go into Prowl, and you open up with Rake. If you talented Brutal Slash, then you go Brutal Slash to 3 combo points. If you did not talent Brutal Slash, but talented Blood Talents, you hit Trash. If you did not talent Brutal Slash or Blood Talents, then Shred, Berserk, Tiger's Fury, then Shred again, and Rip. After this, you go into your general single target rotation. Maintain Rip and Rake bleeds all the time. Build combo points with Shred and Swipe, and Thrash if you have Blood Talents. If not, just Shred, but remember that this ability is last on your priority, so always look out for your Rake dot and prioritize using it instead of Shred when it's about to fall off. Use Ferocious Bite only at 5 combo points and above 50 energy, so you get the highest DPS possible. You want to cast Convoke the Spirits during Tiger's Fury, as even though it can cast Tiger's Fury as one of the options, it is better to guarantee all your Convoke damage is inside a Tiger's Fury window, and that Tiger's Fury is instead replaced by another Shred or Bite. For AoE, you once again Prowl and open up with Rake on 3 targets, but be careful to not overcap your combo points, because at 5 combo points, you then pop Tiger's Fury and then Primal Rat to apply Rip to all targets. After this, you go into your general AoE rotation. Use Thrash for more bleeding goodness and spam Swipe until 5 combo points, again, then you Primal Wrath again. Maintaining Rake on as many targets as possible is ideal, but for starters, 3 targets is quite enough. If you're planning to do plus 15s and higher and have 4+ targets, add your Tiger's Fury and Berserk as well. The rest is pretty simple. Swipe, Primal Rat, Swipe, Primal Rat, watch out for Rake to not fall off, and maintain Thrash. If you are berserking on AoE, you'll want to cast Shred for the increased combo point generation at less than 4 combo points. If at 4 combo points, you can cast Thrash or Swipe. There is much more to Feral when it comes to the rotation, things like Owl Weaving for example, but since this guide is aimed for the beginner levels, I cannot recommend enough for you to visit the Dream Grove Discord and get in touch with all the Feral experts. One of which being Guilty Ass, a veteran Feral who is always willing to help and also helped out with this guide, previous guides as well, on top of him having his own written guide on Wowhead. You can also follow him on his Twitter or Twitch, and all the links will be in the description. A big and warm thank you to our Patreons who make a lot of the content we do possible. And now, as we officially started the class guide series, you can expect guides for all specs with proper research and testing twice a week, on top of the Friday weekly WoW News show and the MoCast podcast, which is ready to kick off Season 2 in January, and all of our juicy streams on twitch.tv/Marcelian Online. If you ever wanted to join the team, Patreon link is in the description. Thank you for watching, and see you very soon. Now, fools.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.